All right. I'd like to start off by saying Barak Yahawah, Bahashem Yahawashi, Bahashem Rawchaa Qadash. Welcome to another live lesson. The name of this one is Isaiah chapter 28, the breakdown of the whole chapter. And pretty much, I was listening to Apostle Tar's video on Wednesday, and I had did a detox, my journey on a detox, and pretty much that same day I was going to do the breakdown on Isaiah chapter 28 because he mentioned it in the video. We get a lot of inspiration from each other's videos, watching each other's videos. I don't watch a whole lot of videos because, it's hard to keep up with just with Elder Pastor and Elder Pastor Gabar's videos. It's hard to keep up. So, I try to watch as many as I can of those and then a few other brothers, and of course doing my own lessons, to edify the body of Yahawah Bashem Yahawashi. So I was gonna do this on Wednesday, and a whole bunch of shit was happening in the house, just Satan, busy. And then, brothers happened to come through, so we were chopping it up, so I didn't get a chance to, and then yesterday was forget about it, I don't even want to talk about that. But we're here now, and Lord's will, it'll be an edifying lesson. One thing that when I was going through the breakdown of this, when I was first reading it, it applied to the Northern Kingdom first, certain portions of it, but then now today, it's applying to the whole nation of Israel. Okay, because as I was reading it, that's the thought that was coming into my mind, that this was dealing with the Northern Kingdom, but then as you progress into the chapter, it applies to the whole nation of Israel, and as I'm putting this together to go, I see right on top Ephraim's captivity predicted, and I didn't read that yesterday because I read it out of the actual book. So we're going to go through it. I know Pastor mentioned in another video he did that maybe at the camp they'll go through Isaiah 28, 29, and 30, But I just wanted to jump on this because I had went through it to give, a little bit more edification on it. Because this is a chapter where we'll hit a couple of precepts off of it, but we won't. I don't believe we've ever done a whole breakdown on this chapter, the whole chapter. It may be out there, I'm not saying it hasn't, but let's just get into it. Isaiah 28:1, woe to the crown of pride, to the drunkards of Ephraim. Now, drunkards is a representation of being drunk off of philosophies. Although if you know the tribe of Ephraim, they are also drunkards too, I know personally from, before even the truth, my ex-woman, her father, he had two friends, he had a few friends, but two of his friends, they would be binge drinking for like 3-4 days straight. I mean, not going to sleep, just drinking for 3 or 4 days straight, and they would just drink from day, they wouldn't go to sleep 3-4 days straight, just drinking. Now that's some hardcore drinking right there, and but for the most part, this here is talking about, spiritually drunken. When we go to Isaiah 29 and 9, it says, stay yourselves and wonder, cry ye out and cry. They are drunken, but not with wine. They stagger, but not with strong drink. And this is what it's talking about. It's talking about these philosophies, that foreign philosophies outside of the knowledge of Yahawah Bashem Yahawashi, that once you're under their influence, they'll have you staggering like a drunken man. Okay, and there's many other precepts on it, but we just in the interest of time, let's get back. Woe to the back in Isaiah 28:1. Woe to the crown of pride, to the drunkards of Ephraim, whose glorious beauty is a fading flower. Because we did have, a beautiful kingdom at one time, and we did have, a flourishing and a status among us, because we are part of the 12 tribes, but it started fading away because of the wickedness that we were committing. It says, which are on the head of the fat valleys of them that are overcome with wine. Right, because, you know, Jake just got totally immersed, look that word up, totally immersed in the philosophies of the other nations. And we know from many scriptures, Leviticus 20 being one of them, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I believe it's Leviticus 20. You know, where the Lord said, when you go take these nations down, beware not to do after the manner of what you see in that realm. Do not worship their gods and the groves and none of that, because that's going to be a trap unto you. In the same way they got kicked out of the land, you're going to get kicked out of the land. And eventually it happened to all Israel, every last one of them. All the Israelites, you know, were kicked out of that land. The southern kingdom, or first the northern kingdom, then eventually the southern kingdom. It says, behold, the Lord hath a mighty and strong one, which as a tempest of hail and a destroying storm, as a flood of mighty waters overflowing, shall cast down to the earth with the hand. This is dealing with these storms and, you know, these disasters that happen based off of, you know, the power of the Lord Yahawah Shamayawan. Now notice it's talking about captivity, or it's talking about pride and being drunken with wine, so on and so forth, and it jumps to somebody else, because sometimes the scriptures jump cut like that. Same thing in Isaiah 29:6. It says, thou shalt be visited of the Lord of hosts, Yahawah Shamayawan, with thunder and with earthquake and great noise, with storm and tempest and the flame of devouring fire. You know, this is why a lot of times too you have a lot of those hurricanes and destructive storms that go through the so-called Caribbean islands and fuck Jake up out there, because they're doing a lot of wicked shit out there. And especially now, much more that you have brothers out there actually teaching. I know there was a camp in Dominican Republic. There's a camp in Puerto Rico. There were Israelite women in the island of Puerto Rico. Inside joke. You have camps out there in Trinidad and, you know, Jamaica and other places, you know. So the word is going out and Jake ain't listening. So the Lord is going to give him some act right. All right. So that was a jump cut in the scriptures, and there's many examples of that. So moving on to Isaiah 28:3, the crown of pride, the drunkards of Ephraim shall be trodden under feet. Right. And that happened during the time when the Assyrians came in there, which was under Shalmaneser V, because Shalmaneser was pretty much just a title that was passed on to different Assyrian kings. And you could do research on that, like the video Elder Pastor did, where he went into secular history, you know. And that's what we do. We go into the secular history to back up what the scriptures say, just to show you that the scriptures are true, you know. And as he said, that builds up your faith, you know, because you see these actual events that have nothing to do with the Bible, that were written based off of things that are in the scriptures. You know, like if you look up Claudius and you look up Shalmaneser, if you look up Nebuchadnezzar, you look up them different Assyrian, Persian kings and different Greeks, you know, and Romans and all that, you'll see different characters among them that have done things either for or against Israel, and you'll see it written in secular history. All right. So they were trodden under feet eventually. When you go to the book of 2 Kings, the 17th chapter, it gives you the history of what happened when Shalmaneser V came in, took down the head of the kingdom, or the king Hoshea, who was an Ephraimite, and brought them into captivity into the land of Assyria. It says, and the glorious beauty which is on the head of the valley shall be a fading flower. Right, and we are a fading flower, because you see when flowers pop up and blossom and bloom, you know, they are beautiful. You know, they start off, you know, before they blossom or break forth, you know, they start off like any other plant out there. Then when you see the flower come out, you see the different colors depending on what type of flower it is, and it's beautiful. But after a while, you know, insects get to it, the sun gets to it, you know, and eventually it starts to fade. And that's what happened to us. We went from a glorious status to a fading flower. And as a hasty fruit before the summer, which when he that looketh upon it seeth, while it is yet in his hand, he eateth it up, right? And we were eaten up like, you know, it was just that easy. You know, like you walk by a field, you can grab fruit that's ripe, you could just pluck it off the tree and eat it. That's how easy it was to take the northern kingdom down and eventually the southern kingdom. Why? Because the Lord withdrew his hedge from us. There was nothing there to hedge us because the Lord allowed us to be open to that, you know, to that disaster. It says, in that day shall the Lord of hosts be for a crown of glory and for a diadem of beauty unto the residue of the people, because eventually there is an elect that is going to be delivered, you know, and that elect is going to have the right minerals in them to be able to navigate through the maze of deceit that is out here to get to the Lord. Remember, Yahawashi said, no man can come to me except the Father which is in heaven draw him, and I will raise him up in the last days. So you have to remember that there is a remnant out here of the nation of Israel that are sealed in their forehead with the Thawah, or the MARK of the Most High, which is an exemption from judgment. And they will not, no matter what, bend to the will of any of these nations. Remember, in Romans, the 11th chapter, it says that I have reserved unto myself 7,000 men who have not bowed the knee to the image of Baal. And today what we're witnessing in this so-called New World Order is the image of Baal being exalted, you know, and the world is going to follow after it. But the elect of the Lord Yahawah will not. Isaiah 10 and 20, it says, and it shall come to pass in that day that the remnant of Israel and such as are escaped of the house of Jacob. See, why? Because they're not influenced by Esau anymore. Because once the light of the Lord opened up into their hearts, they never turned back. They saw this devil for what he really is, you know, and they are shunning him. Just like Job eschewed evil. Well, the elect are shunning this man and his whole enterprise because they have this ingredient inside of them that will not allow them to. Because remember, Yahawashi said it best. He said, if at all possible, they will deceive the very elect. But it's not possible. It says, the ones that are escaped out of the house of Jacob shall no more again stay upon him that smote them. Why? Because at one time, we were all under Esau's spell. But when the Lord woke us up, we fled from the refuge of Esau to the refuge of Yahawah by Hashem Yahawashi. It says, but shall stay upon the Lord, the Lord Yahawah by Hashem Yahawashi, the Holy One of Israel, in truth. You shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. The remnant shall return. See, even the remnant of Jacob unto the mighty power, because there is a number among those Israelites, all Israel, that is going to be delivered. And that number, that seal, that first fruit, those elect were sealed because the Most High made a promise to Abraham that he is not going to break, not even for his great name's sake. You see? And I wasn't trying to rhyme either. So the Lord is going to deliver the nation of Israel, the elect among them, because he made a promise to his friend Abraham. That's why he left a remnant. That's why it says, if the Lord did not leave a remnant, what would happen was we would have been as though we were not, and we would have all been as unto Sodom and Gomorrah, meaning we would have all been destroyed. Not that everybody would have been a mole, that everybody would have been destroyed like Sodom and Gomorrah was destroyed if the Lord didn't leave a remnant among the nation of Israel. For though thy people Israel be as the sand of the sea, yet a remnant of them shall return. The consumption decree shall overflow with righteousness. See? It says, for the Lord Yahawah of hosts shall make a consumption even determined in the midst of all the land. And eventually the nation of Israel, the remnant of them, will be saved. And only the remnant of the nation of Israel. The other nations will not be saved. Will they be in the kingdom? Yes. For what purpose? For the purpose of slavery, captivity. That's right. You heard it. You heard it here. And you read it in the scriptures if you read it with comprehension. It's right there on the bold pages of the Bible. It says, and for back in Isaiah 28:6, and for a spirit of judgment to him that sitteth in judgment, and for strength to them that turn the battle to the gate. Right, because the gate represents what? Represents the leadership, represents the laws, the statutes, the commandments. All right, and these are the ones that are going to return. It says, but they also have erred through wine. And what happened? The whole nation erred through wine. The southern kingdom and through strong drink are out of the way, because the Lord gave the way. And the Lord said to seek the ancient ways. Right? Did he not say that? Jeremiah 6:16. Right? It says, thus saith the Lord Yahawah Yahawashi, stand ye in the ways and see, and ask for the old paths. See, where is the good way? And walk therein, because there is safety there. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil. And you shall find rest for your souls. As this is the refreshing, as we're going to read. But they said, we will not walk therein. And guess what? This is what got Jake in that hot water. So going back, right, to Isaiah 28:7, it says, the priests and the prophets have erred through strong drink, because the leaders of this people cause them to err. They are swallowed up of wine, meaning they're consumed, they're inflamed with these philosophies. They are, and no matter what you do or say to them, they're not going to get it. They're not going to wake up. That's why, as we've been saying, beginning with all the pastor, it's a waste of time trying to talk to these, individuals in the church. They're seared with a hot iron. Now if you happen to run across and dialogue with one of them, and you see an opening, and they start to get it, that's a different story. But as being a seasoned teacher out there, the things to say, to see, and depending on their response, if they're sincere or full of shit. You could throw out certain bait out there, so to speak, scripture wise, to see what they're going to say or do, or if they ask certain questions. And based off of the questions that they ask, well, you know what? Maybe there's hope for this person. Let me try to work with them. But if you see that you throwing out bait out there, which is the scriptures, you remember it says we shall be fishers of men, and you're supposed to throw out the bait to catch the fish, right? And you see that they're coming with their bullshit, then you know not to waste your time. And that comes with time. That comes with experience. As they say, experience is the best teacher. And based off of that, if you can work with this individual, or if it's best just to send them down the road. Unless you're just using them for the edification of the camera and the audience out there that's listening. That's the only way that I could see you wasting your time with an individual like that, because time is precious, man. We ain't got time to bleed. Inside joke. They are out of the way through strong drink. They err in vision. They stumble in judgment, right? Because they can't give the proper judgment, because they don't know the judgment. Because the ones that are in prominent positions were taught by Esau. They were taught by the devil. So what are they going to spew to you? The same garbage that they've been listening to, which is nothing but vomit. It says, for all tables are full of vomit and filthiness, so that there's no place clean. That's dealing with their philosophies. When we go to Proverbs, the 9th chapter, Salak, I know you brothers are putting some banging scriptures up, man. I haven't got a chance to read any of them. I'm kind of a little too close to the camera, but it's appreciated in the spirit, and honors to you brothers out there, man, that's enduring the heat of the day, and fighting, in this truth out of the sincerity of your heart. Proverbs 9:1, wisdom hath builded her house, she hath hewn out her 7 pillars, right? Because it's a refuge. This is a refuge. Psalms 91, she hath killed her beasts, she hath mingled her wine. She hath also furnished her table. That's why it says, drink wine out of thine own cistern. because no better wine than the wine that Yahweh Bashem Yahawashi pours out. No better meal than the meal that Yahweh Bashem Yahawashi serves up and dishes out. Yahawashi said, me and my Father will come and sup with you. It says, she has sent forth her maidens. She crieth upon the highest places of the city. Whoso is simple, let him turn hither. As for him that wanteth understanding, she saith to him, come eat of my bread and drink of the wine that which I have mingled. Forsake the foolish, and the foolish virgins, and the foolish out there, period, and live, and go in the way of understanding. All right? So this is the wine that we should be drinking of, the wine of truth. All right? And when we go to, there was another one that came to mind, Psalms 69 and 22, I believe it is. It says, let their matter of fact, yep, let their table become a snare before them, which is what? This truth becomes a trap unto them. Just like the Apostle Peter spoke about the letters of the Apostle Paul and how they were a trap to these people because they wrestle with the scriptures to their destruction because they don't understand the scriptures, therefore they become entangled with the bullshit that they learn out here from Esau. This plantation / Renaissance Christianity, which is not biblical. And the only thing that it has to do biblically is that it's another gospel, that it's vomit, you know, but it's not the truth. And they continue to spew that. And the more that they spew that, the more entangled they become in that affair. All right. It says, and that which should have been for their welfare, let it become a trap. Right. And this knowledge is supposed to be for welfare, but it becomes a trap. They become snared in it. Let their eyes be darkened that they see not, and make their loins continually to shake. Right. So they won't be able to see the truth. Because if they were able to see the truth, hear the truth, believe the truth, then they would be converted and the Lord would have to heal them. But the Lord doesn't want to heal all of the nation right now. He's only going to heal the elect. Pour out thine indignation upon them, and let thy wrathful anger take hold of them. Let their habitation be desolate, and let none dwell in their tents. To them whom thou hast smitten, this is going into Yahawashi, and they talk to the grief of those whom thou hast wounded, dealing with the prophets, you know, the ones that carry on the message of Yahweh Bashem Yahawashi. Add iniquity unto their iniquity, and let them not come into thy righteousness. That's why you have jakes out there that will not come into this. You have to understand there's a force out there, there's a power, you know, of the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahawashi, an actual angel that's blocking people from getting this knowledge, blocking Israelites from getting this knowledge. Read Isaiah the 6th chapter. You know, that they are actually blocking, you know, these Israelites out here from getting the truth. So no matter if you break it down to them properly, they're not going to listen because they haven't been given the mineral to accept it. Let them be blotted out of the book of the living and not be written with the righteous, meaning out of the book of the elect. Now, will they be in the kingdom? Of course they will be in the kingdom of heaven because they'll be coming back as the children of the elect, you know. But they will just not make it on this time. So there's an ignorant teaching out there that the 2/3, they're not going to ever make it to the kingdom. But meanwhile, these same individuals will say that Esau, you know, they're gonna go into the kingdom to serve slavery, which they're going to die over here. And Esau is the wicked. They're going to die here, but then they're going to come back in the kingdom of heaven to serve slavery. But the Israelites, right, they're if they don't listen, then this time they're doomed for all eternity. You know, makes no sense at all. So now we jump into the 9th verse, Isaiah 28:9. Whom shall he teach knowledge, and whom shall he make to understand doctrine? Them that are weaned from the milk and drawn from the breast. Meaning, the ones that the Lord is going to teach this knowledge to become what? Teachers. You men out there that are to become teachers, right, are those that are weaned from the milk and drawn from the breast. Because when you first come into this thing, you come into this thing as a newborn baby that sucks the breast of his mother to get nourishment. All right. And when you get that nourishment, there comes a point where you don't need the milk anymore. As the scriptures say, become weaned. A baby that's weaned means a baby that's no longer drinking breast milk. That's a baby that's, their teeth are starting to come in. They're ready for solid food. Even though it's mushy food, but they're ready to go to the next stage of eating. That's what the teachers go through. They go through a stage of beginning stage, where they drinking milk, and eventually they go into, eating solid foods, which pretty much is mush. All right, so 1 Peter 2:5, it says, I'm sorry, not 5. 2. As newborn babes desire the sincere milk of the word, that you may grow thereby. See? Because the milk is supposed to make you grow. And then when you grow, you become a teacher. And you become a teacher, you're still a novice, but eventually after a while, that the teaching methods and the going out there and interacting with these people brings you up on a level of being an experienced teacher, a seasoned teacher. Okay? So that's who the Lord is going to teach this knowledge, this wisdom, and this understanding. It says, for precept must be upon precept, precept upon precept, line upon line, here a little and there a little. And that is how you break the Bible down, ladies and gentlemen, or gentlemen and ladies. All right? That's how you break the scriptures down. Now, this is twofold, because this is how you break the scriptures down properly. You get a little here. You might read something in Revelation. You got to go back to Genesis to break it down. But also, these precepts and these lines came upon our people, little here and a little there, line upon line. Like the curses. When you go through the curses, you apply those curses wherever you see Jake is at. And the things that they're going through, in every curse from the 15th verse on down, every Jake didn't go through all of those curses, but they went through those curses, whether they went through every single one of them or whether they went through certain ones of them. All right? Because you did have some Israelites on the western coast of Africa that did not go into slavery by way of cargo slave ships. But indirectly they did, because in the incarnation, the ones that were here brought some of them over here. Then they were never taken. But I bet you when you go to their living quarters, they live like meek, poor. Certain ones of them. Why? Because they are Israelites, and they would go through the curses, just like the so-called the Northern Kingdom. Didn't go into captivity through cargo slave ships, but some of them did. Some of them were shipped back to the new world, to the so-called old world, in ships as slaves. The devil Christopher Columbus brought 500 of them over there in captivity. They show you that in that series, the Borgias, where they brought that one Taino. He was all chained up. He had a loincloth on. He was all chained up. They brought him before the queen and the king of Spain. And you have a lot of Gadites in Europe. You have a lot of so-called Latin tribes in Europe that are there to this day because they were brought back there in captivity. You see? So it says, 28th verse, I'm sorry, the 11th verse. For with stammering lips and another tongue will he speak to this people. And this is proof that this is talk about now. All right? Because speaking another tongue from our native tongue, which is the Hebrew, the Lashawan, Qadash, whatever you want to call it. Today we are speaking English. We did not speak English back in 724 BC. We did not speak English during the time of the Babylonian captivity. We did not speak English during the Medieval Persian captivity. We did not speak English during the Greek captivity. We did not speak English during the Roman captivity. It wasn't until this time now, when we went into captivity under Esau, that we're speaking another language, which is the so-called English. Right? When we went into captivity underneath those other nations, some of us learned their language. And this is what happened. This is why the Apostle Paul said, that there's no difference between the Jew or the Greek. Why? Because they're both Israelites. It's just that they were brought up differently. All right. So it says, to whom he said, verse 12, to whom he said, this is the rest wherewith you may cause the weary to rest. Right, this knowledge. This is the comforter, you know, where we will be able to find rest for our weary souls. And this is the refreshing, yet they would not hear because they pushed their hand away. You go to Proverbs, the first chapter, from about the 20th verse on down, you can read the whole chapter, and it tells you how Jake was pushing the word of the Lord away. So guess what? They were going to eat of their own fruit, you know, the things that they sowed. But the word of the Lord was unto them. See, precept upon precept, precept upon precept, line upon line, here a little and there a little, because the scriptures came upon us as the Lord said they would. And he said that they would be a testimony or a witness against us. It says that they might go and fall backward and be broken and snared and taken. Right, because these words, you know, as the elder pastor says, this is a living document. And these words are spiritual. You know, they take effect. The word of the Lord doesn't go out void. So whatever the Lord said was going to happen, that happened. And it fell upon us. Now you notice here it says Judah is warned. You know, so this chapter falls upon the whole nation. You know, it says, wherefore hear the word of the Lord, you scornful men that rule this people which is in Jerusalem, because the leadership is what is in control of what they feed the people. That's what the Lord said, the rulers of this people cause him to err, because you have said, we have made a covenant with death, and with hell are we at agreement. Right, because a lot of these devils out here among our people, you know, they've taken the bag. They've made an oath. It says, when the overflowing scourge shall pass through, it shall not come unto us, because they're thinking when the time of Jacob's trouble comes, you know, when all these hardships and calamities come, that sweet Jesus is going to help them. No. Sweet Jesus don't exist. What does exist is Yahawashi. And if you ain't invoking those names, you ain't going to be saved. And if you are part of the elect, you will get those names. It says, for we have made lies our refuge, see, and under falsehood that we hid ourselves. So if you're making lies your refuge, when the storms come, it's going to sweep away all that bullshit, and you're going to be left naked out there without any, you know, hedge. You know, the Lord is not going to protect you unless you're under the banner of Yahawah Bashem Yahawashi. Therefore, thus saith the Lord power, behold, I lay in Zion. And matter of fact, right, it says, you trust in lying words. It would say the temple of the Lord, the temple of the Lord, the temple of the Lord are these. It says, therefore, thus saith the Lord Yahawah Bashem Yahawashi, behold, I lay in Zion for a foundation, a stone. And this is why we are to build upon that stone. And that stone is Yahawashi, the Son of the Most High, the only begotten, our Savior. A tried stone, because he was tried. A precious cornerstone, right? Because it is the most prestigious stone out of the whole building. It's the one that gets the most praise and recognition. A sure foundation, right? Not this bullshit that you have, this refuge of lies that you've come under. He that believeth shall not make haste, because the ones that believe will come running to that rock, running to that foundation to be delivered. All right? There's no other name under heaven whereof man shall be saved. There's only one name, not several. So even these individuals that know the Lord's name and say, well, you're going to call him Jesus, you're going to call him Yeshua, you're going to call him Yahshua, you're going to call him Yahawashi. No, it's only one name. The Most High's name is Yahawah, and his son's name is Yahawashi. Simple. Doesn't take a rocket scientist to break this thing down. It says, judgment also will I lay to the line, and righteousness to the plummet. Yeah, because look at it as a measuring stick. This is the measuring stick. Yahawashi said, learn of me, right? Didn't he say that? Matthew 11 and 28. Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest, because this is that rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn of me, for I am meek and lowly in heart, and ye shall find rest unto your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. Right? So that's the judgment. That's the measuring stick. So in the middle of 17th verse in Isaiah 28, and the hail shall sweep away the refuge of lies. Right. So this truth is going to sweep away that refuge of lies. And the truth is the greatest hedge under Yahawah Bashem Yahawashi. And knowledge and wisdom shall be the stability of thy times and strength of salvation. And the water shall overflow the hiding place. Right, because the knowledge will increase, and it will cause this truth to shine. Remember, Yahawashi said, a city that is built on a hill cannot be hid. And your covenant with death shall be disannulled, right? Because this truth is going to sweep away all that bullshit. And those of you that been bullshitting, that sold out, you're gonna be made manifest. It's gonna manifest to the world that you sold out. And it's going to be disannulled because you're not going to receive the protection you thought you were going to receive. And your agreement with hell shall not stand. It says, I hear the bishop in the background, we're June, ain't no micro Z here. When the overflowing scourge shall pass through, then you shall be trodden down by it. Right, because you and your congregation will be trodden down. And the only ones that will escape are the elect. That will escape your clutches, your ravenous wolf clutches. It says, from the time that it goeth forth, it shall take you. Just like we read earlier, precept upon precept. For morning by morning shall it pass over, day by day, night, day by day and by night, Salakia. And there shall be a vexation to understand the report. Why? Because you're not going to have answers. And it's going to be vexing because you're like, well, I trusted in sweet Jesus. I called on his name. Oh, Lord. And there's not going to be anything there to save you or help you. Because the real refuge, you pushed away. For the bed is shorter than that a man can stretch himself on it. And the covering narrower than he can wrap himself in it. Right. It's not going to be enough. It's not going to be sufficient. Right now it seems like it's okay, but when the shit gets hot, when the shit gets fierce, it gets cold out here, you ain't going to have enough to cover yourself and warm yourself. Because the Lord is going to get loose out here. Remember, Esau is the Most High's whipping stick. He going to let this devil loose. He don't bear the sword in vain. He was given that blessing, and that blessing he will use and is using and has been using and will continue to use it until the one that gave it to him takes it away. It says, for the Lord shall rise up as in Mount Perazim. This goes back to King David. This is the battle that he had with the Philistines prior to in that same chapter. When you read about this, the Mount Perazim, when the Lord delivered King David, then the very next battle was when he told him to, don't do anything until you hear, the tops of the mulberry trees moving or whatever, however it was worded. So this is the battle prior to that battle. So he shall be wroth as in the valley of Gibeon, that he may do his work, his strange work, and bring to pass his act, his strange act. All right. So it says, now therefore, right, and that strange act is what? Is the deliverance by the missiles. The deliverance by the missiles. I'm sorry, the deliverance by the chariots, because the missiles are going to be banging on this place. And nobody is looking for the Israelites, the elected of the nation of Israel, to be beamed up into chariots to be saved from the destruction that's coming. The closest that they ever get to is the so-called rapture, and that thing is bullshit. All right? Because when the elect are delivered, the destruction will be simultaneous. That's why it says that the righteous shall scarcely be saved. It will be a simultaneous thing where the elect will be delivered and the destruction will come. There will be no 7-year tribulation period. The book of Daniel, the 9th chapter, already happened. That's already sealed, in the books of history. That is a historical event that took place already. All right? You missed the whole mark. Verse 22, now therefore be ye not mockers, lest your bands be made strong. See? Because if you mock, and the Lord gives you that spirit of reprobateness, I know it's not a word, but hey, we made it a word today, then, you will not be protected. It says, for I have heard from the Lord power of hosts, a consumption even determined upon the whole earth. And this is how we know this is talking about this time right now. Because this whole earth is going to be under attack by these devils, these Edomites, that are putting their plans and their agenda into effect, even as we speak right now. Which Great Millstone has been talking about this for years. And how much more now when it's evident that it's coming to pass. Revelation 3:10, because thou hast kept the word of my patience, I also will keep you from the hour of temptation, which shall come upon all the world to try them that dwell upon the earth. And then Revelation, the 12th chapter, speaks about woe to the earth and the inhabitants thereof. Because the devil has come down having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time. They're going to be like madmen, sparing none. And those of you that are not under the protection of the banner of Yahawah Bashem Yahawashi will not be delivered. So go back to Isaiah 28:3. Give ye ear and hear my voice, hearken and hear my speech. And what's that? That's dealing with the prophets. The Lord is speaking to you through the prophets, warning you of these things that are coming before they actually happen. Does the plowman plow all day to sow? Does he open and break the clods of his ground, when he hath made plain the face thereof? Doth he not cast abroad the fitches and scatter the cumin, and cast in the principal wheat and appointed barley and the rye in their place? Right. He don't labor all day and not plant those different seeds. Just like we've been laboring, and there's going to be a reward for the labor. Because when the husbandman breaks up his fallow ground and dresses it the right way, then he plants the seeds and covers it back up so that he can receive the benefit of his hard work, his hard labor. The Most High is not unrighteous to forget our deeds in love. There is a reward coming. See, it says, for his power doth instruct him to discretion and doth teach him. Right, and this is why we out there, through the spirit and power of Yahawashi, we have broken up that fallow ground. The Lord broke it up for us, gave us the minerals, the right things to do, the right seeds to be planted, to be able to bring forth the proper fruit that's going to be for our salvation. It says, for the fitches are not threshed with a threshing instrument, neither is a cart wheel turned about upon the cumin, but the fitches are beaten out with a staff and the cumin with a rod. Right, because there's a proper way to plant. There's a proper way to sow, so that you can get the benefits of the reaping. Bread corn is bruised, because he will not ever be threshing it, nor break it with the wheel of his cart, nor bruise it with his horsemen. Right, because the truth and the elect will not be destroyed. They will be delivered. This also cometh from the Lord of hosts, Yahawah Bashem Yahawashi, which is wonderful in counsel and excellent in working. Right, because this is how the Lord is going to deliver his elect, by this truth. And this is why this truth has to be kept properly. You can't just add whatever you want to it. You can't just take whatever you want from it and discard the rest. The Lord told Ezekiel, eat the roll and go and teach the house of Israel. He didn't say eat the parts that are pleasant and the rest throw out and then go speak to the house of Israel. No, he said eat the whole roll. It's going to be sweet in your mouth, but it's going to be bitter when it hits the belly, when you go to Revelation 10. So we got to teach the whole thing, no matter how uncomfortable it may be. The Lord says, spare not. So with that, this has been Isaiah, the 28th chapter. I pray that you brothers and few sisters have been edified. Till the next time I say, Shalom.